Alright, hello again. This is Daniel Ritchie, developer of Howler, and I would like to show you a few more things using the Puppy Ray filter, some of the more advanced settings on the that extended More tab. I've switched machines to a Windows 8 machine with a touch screen, and I've got Howler running here. I just wanted to show you a few neat things about Windows 8. It is rather cool now when you use a wallpaper of some photography you've created with your digital camera. Load that into the background of the desktop. Windows will now automatically make a new color scheme and use that as for rendering your windows and your graphical user interface elements. And it can be really pretty. As you can see, it's taken this yellow from the image and decided to make that a color for the window. And I've heard other people who say it would use that in other parts of the interface as well. I haven't personally explored that, but moving on to Howler, I'm going to show how we created this city scene briefly. First thing I want to do is demonstrate the problem you might experience excuse me, when you render this. Normally we use the Puppy Ray filter so far we've used it for creating landscapes and some other interesting things, but now we want to create this city scene. And as you can see, these shapes are very square, very rectangular, and very geometric, with very hard edges, and I'll demonstrate what the problem is with that and how we get around it. So I'm going to go to that swap image and just create a using the filter, under render, the dread plating filter, and I'm going to turn off weathering because we don't want that weathering for this particular example. I'm going to click OK using those default settings. Now when we look at this as the regular zoom, the zoom ratio, which is 100%, you can see these edges are very sharp looking. And bear in mind, this is just an example. This is not something that is going to apply to that specifically. But as you see, when we zoom in, we start getting these more softer looking edges. And if we were to render this image, I know it's still a bitmap and it's still the same way in memory, but we're zooming in as an example. But if we had rendered an image that looked like this with these soft edges, we get some rectangles that have sort of rounded corners, and that's not what we want. We want very sharp corners. And I'm going to turn off that bilinear filtering that we use on the zoom, just to show that now, even though we're zoomed in, we still get these hard rectangular shapes. So I'm going to go back out to the 100% zoom ratio, and we're going to do exactly that in Puppy Ray. We're going to turn off that bilinear filtering that's used on that bitmap. This bitmap, when it gets converted into a height map, will no longer be interpolated in a way that is smooth. It'll be interpolated in a way that is sharp and not rounded off. So I'm going to go to Puppy Ray, which is under Transform, the Puppy Ray filter, and I'm going to turn off the global illumination for now. I'm going to turn off shadows for now, just so we can see it and do it real quickly. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and render that, but before I do, I'm going to make sure this button over here, interpolation, right there, make sure that is turned off. That means you won't get that blending or that smoothing, and I'm going to ray trace that. And as you can see now, the city scene we've generated is, all the shapes are very rectangular looking and very sharp looking. Let me stop this. See, if we had used that interpolation, they would be somewhat more rounded off looking. I'm going to render that again, and we'll begin to see it here in a moment. Even back here, and let's see, everything's too dark to really tell there, but up here I think we'll see it a lot more. Yes, as you can see right up here, these shapes that used to be little rectangles are now just like blobs. They're just like melted, like the whole city had just started melting, and it just doesn't look good at all. So we're going to turn off that interpolation again, and that is one of the things you need to know about if you want to do this city scene. The other one is the pre-filter button. Pre-filter is somewhat similar to that. It basically, when you convert that image, that city scene image into an object from an image, a height map, it applies some pre-filtering to it, which is sort of a blur filter. It does that for several reasons. One of them is to eliminate stair stepping you might get, because this is an 8-bit per channel paint program. That means you have 255 possible levels of value or brightness, and if your image is, or your object has some fairly large hills in it, you might start seeing little discrete steps or striations in those hills, and is important to know when you want to use that and when you don't want to use that. In the case of something that is rounded off, you would definitely want to use pre-filtering, but in the case of this city scene, you definitely not want to use pre-filtering and set that down to 0. Otherwise you get, again, the melty building looking effect. I'm going to go ahead and ray trace this again with that pre-filter off and that interpolation off. Then I'm going to do it again with the pre-filter to show you pretty much what that will do to your object. All right, as you can see, everything's getting real sharp looking again. Now I'll put pre-filter back up to 1 all the way up and ray trace that, and it's going to look like the city's been out in the sun too long and it's melted. Once again, that's not probably what you would want for a city scene. It might be what you want for some other type of scene, ocean waves or eggs in a crate or something strange like that. As you can see, this just turned into a big muck. All right, so I'll put it down to 0 again, and we will finish this scene off and make it look like what we started with. I'm going to go to done for now. I'm going to hit undo, and I'm going to adjust this filter, adjust levels. I'm sorry, filter adjust curves will be better. Although that level tool can do some very interesting things too. If you remember, when we had rendered this, it was just one big city scene. There was no like open areas. It was all city. It was something like out of a space movie where the entire planet is a city. But most cities don't look like that. They usually have some open spaces, some areas where there are tall skyscrapers, and some areas where there are smaller buildings. And by adjusting these curves, we can do that. As you can see, these white areas are going to be like skyscrapers, where these dark areas are going to be much smaller buildings. So I will go ahead and hit OK and go back to Puppy Ray, and we will now see our much more open city. I'm going to go ahead and change the camera orientation a little bit, and I think I'll also change the fog a little bit so we can see more of the skyline out there, like this is a really big city and it's not encased in a shroud of fog. And I'm going to go ahead and I might turn trace shadows back on, and as a finishing touch I might also use global illumination. That will simulate the effect of bounce light as well as light coming from the ambient areas such as the sky, and it'll give you much more realistic lighting, especially in the shadow areas where normally it might be just jet black. You'll get some bounce light. Areas that are glossy, the reflective spot will bounce light really strongly. and it is an actual physically accurate lighting model to some degree. And I'm going to go ahead and click less and render this, and that's how I'm going to leave it for now. So I will see you again later, and thanks for watching.